Death and Ignorance. By Anna von Reitz. Additional information provided to H.E. Cardinal Mamberti and the Vatican Chancery Court, in regard to our claims of March 6, 2005, January 19, 2023, in Seek. Death and Ignorance. Only scientifically ignorant people ever believed in human-caused global warming, and they were misled by government scientists who were paid to lie about basic, known, scientific truths. Stop a moment and take that in. Basic truths, like the carbon cycle, which every little schoolchild in America used to be taught until Jimmy Carter's Federal Department of Education got involved in illegally dictating what our local, public, schools adopted as curriculum, were ignored for 2 decades by the mainstream media and universities and politicians and national laboratories. Or, what about the once equally well-known information about how much ash, carbon dioxide, and other gases a single volcano produces? The Final Poo-Poo, Article 1 reposted this past week gives a more than adequate explanation of exactly why a single volcano can, and regularly does, dwarf all and any effect on carbon dioxide emissions that humans have. With an average of 200 active volcanoes spewing carbon dioxide, and a lot more, into the air on any given day, it's a no-brainer to correlate increased carbon dioxide in the atmosphere to their increased activity, not ours. Yet, for 2 decades we've had to have this obnoxious, and stupid, public debate about carbon dioxide emissions and the thoroughly ridiculous idea of human-caused global warming, based on carbon dioxide emissions from our automobiles and people breathing and cows farting. Only misinformed and scientifically ignorant people, and little children, ever believed in any of this hogwash. The question remains, why would our schools be dumbed down? Why would government scientists at laboratories and special think tanks lie their rumps off and keep this nonsense going? The easy answer is that an ignorant population is easier to defraud and control. And as for the government scientists, the same government corporations that employ them also pay them kickbacks and grants to say whatever the mama corporation wants them to say. Ask yourselves what happens when a foreign commercial corporation gets hold of the apparatus of government? Well, then, whatever is good for the corporation's bottom line, and the bottom lines of its corporate cronies, is good, no matter what it costs you, their employers, the consumers of their goods and services. Yes, you heard that theory correctly stated. That's what the members of the Territorial Congress tell themselves every day. Whatever is good for their corporate bottom line is good for America, even if it kills and defrauds Americans, pollutes our country, and guts our natural resources. That's why the only redress offered for the horrors of the phony pandemic lay buried in the Consumer Protection Act, under the control of the Federal Trade Commission. A similar situation exists with regard to the idea that the Earth is overpopulated. There is absolutely no valid scientific evidence that it is, but people have been massacred and genocided just the same. Finally, today, I have news of a crack appearing in the monolithic insanity that has been imposed upon the world by the District of Columbia Corporation and the United States of America Corporation and the Department of Defense, Inc. aka DoD, Inc. The new CEO of Toyota says no more EV cars will be produced by Toyota. https://www.youtube.com, watch? V equals R44 DenX WMZE. So buy Toyota products. They are the only ones demonstrating scientific and economic competence. Of all the really, truly crazy outcomes of the whole big lie surrounding human-caused global warming, the development of electric cars stands as a monument to scientific and practical ignorance, and gross political manipulation of science. Let's see. We are going to decrease human-caused carbon emissions, which are totally insignificant anyway, by using electric cars to reduce our personal carbon footprint. Albeit, we do this by increasing the load on giant electrical turbines that produce that electricity, and run off fossil fuel. Who scores? The public utilities that get to charge you for your increased use of electricity and the oil companies that make larger, more efficient sales to the electric companies and the mining corporations that get to charge you for all the exotic, and highly poisonous and explosive, rare earth minerals used to make electric car batteries. Who loses? You do. And so does the environment. By addressing a non-existent problem, human-caused global warming, The criminals out to make a buck have created real problems. Increased electrical use and industrial pollution resulting from that increased use, vastly increased, and largely unregulated, lithium and cobalt mining, terrible new collision risks, electric cars tend to explode, and new waste management dilemmas, where and how can you safely dispose of giant dead, but still explosive, electric car batteries full of poisonous rare earth minerals? At the same time that Toyota is facing facts and defending its own sanity, the EU, another commercial corporation under the thumb of the District of Columbia, Inc., is attempting to ban the combustion engine. Good luck with that. Especially now that the partners in crime, the EU, Inc., and DoD, Inc., have ruined the Nord Stream pipelines and left the living people with no viable means of meeting their energy needs, staying warm, and feeding themselves. And the EU, Inc., and DoD, Inc., both, and put an end to the illegal, custodial, military occupation of the United States, Japan, 17 Western European countries and the entire former Commonwealth. All our countries have been illegally occupied and we, Americans, have been bearing 96% of the cost of defending all those countries and occupying them. It's a lose-lose for everyone involved, except of course, the criminal municipal corporations that have foisted all this off on everyone and their British territorial co-conspirators. If the United Nations organization was ever worth salt, then by all means, all the national delegations need to stand up in arms against this gross commercial criminality and the attendant illegal military occupations. The entities responsible for causing all these problems are all organized as commercial corporations in the business of providing essential government services. They don't have contracts and we don't need these crooks bilking us and injuring us to profit themselves. What needs to happen is for these run-amok municipal corporations to be permanently liquidated and their assets returned to the control of actual national governments, not more corporations acting as governments. Under ecclesiastical law, the Pope and the Roman Curia are responsible for the existence and operations of these legal fiction entities they have created and which they own, and all of them are subject to immediate liquidation upon demand when they engage in unlawful activities detrimental to the substantive rights and interests of living people. We demand the liquidation of the District of Columbia, Inc., the Department of Defense, Inc., the Municipality of Washington, D.C., and all associated incorporated affiliates, franchises, parent corporations, subsidiaries, and governing boards and trustee organizations. All British territorial, that is, incorporated mercenary forces, need to be withdrawn from the United States, the former Commonwealth countries, and the occupied nations of Western Europe and Japan, without any arguments. Their false claims of custodial interest, their military districts, and their military district courts all need to be shut down and the associated corporations liquidated with the assets being returned to the actual owners, the people and national governments of the offended countries. The American Armed Forces will be reconstituted immediately as a national defense force and returned to their natural status as an honorable national soldiery. Their only job will remain as stated in our venerable constitutions, to defend this country and our people and our borders, and not to make a mockery of defense, by using it as an excuse to invade other countries and to engage in racketeering at home and war profiteering abroad. The egregious lies told by these municipal corporation managers and employees to the American people and to people around the world, must be admitted. Whether these are scientific hoaxes, or false flags, or false commercial claims that have led to impersonation and illegal and unlawful seizure of our assets, including our credit, and unlawful securitization of our living flesh. We are not interested in hearing any fanciful stories. We wish for these municipal corporations to be liquidated, their employees dismissed except for those needed to provide a safe transition, and a peaceable resolution that doesn't involve more death and ignorance. Issued by Anna Maria Riesinger, Fiduciary the United States of America in care of Box 520994. Big Lake, Alaska 99652.